All right, so welcome back to the first day of our two-day bootcamp. Now we start with the afternoon sessions. We have 3 different sessions. The first one will last for 1 hour, and it's about standardization development in support of blockchain boosting, energy transition, and decentralization. It's also covering the standardization topic that was causing so much furor in the morning. And we have with us right now Bernard Guindros, that he works at BMGI, and also his colleague of us working at Enable, that is a partner of the Block Pool project. So welcome, Bernard. Thank you very much for joining and organizing this session for us.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Definitely, I think it will be interesting. We had a very interesting presentation from Paolo this morning that just introduced the standardization framework context and benefits, of course. And I will give you some example of initiative we are just launching now at European level. So let me just share my screen if it's fine. Yeah. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. All right. If it's fine with you, I will just give you an overview of what initiative we took at the CEN and CENELEC level to try to boost consideration of the blockchain opportunities to boost meeting the different targets of the energy transition, but also decarbonization through decentralization. Just a quick word about who I am. I'm an independent consultant, created my own consulting company, BMGI Consulting, but I'm also a partner of Enable, working on many different topics. I'm working in this standardization activities for years now, but also leading many green innovation activities, either for the European Commission, but also for other companies and national agencies. This is very quickly to go through. So today I will give you an overview about the, let's say, what the CEN-CENELEC Sector from Energy Management, Energy Transition is, about the annual seminar we organized last year, 2 years ago now, about blockchain in the energy sector, the outcomes from the seminar, and recommendation for further development from the Sector from Energy Management, Energy Transition plenary meeting. And I will give you also an overview of the new working group on blockchain. We launched recently a call for expert that is still open, and giving you some information about the scope of this working group, the objective and deliverables, and how we will be organized. And of course, in complementarity to the presentation from Paolo this morning, to explain to you how we are linked with the new CEN-CENELEC Joint Technical Committee 19 on blockchain and distributed ledger technology. So first of all, the Sector from Energy Management, Energy Transition was created already 15 years ago, following a recommendation from the European Commission and CEN and CENELEC Technical Board for a permanent horizontal strategic body and advisory board on energy management, energy efficiency. And this strategy advisory board cover energy efficiency, energy savings, energy management, renewable energy sources, and more recently, energy transition. We tackle any type of energy, electricity, gas, mechanical, also heating and cooling, etc. We have 3 plenary sessions per year, and we try to organize 1 seminar per year dedicated to innovative topic in order to anticipate needs for further standardization development. So that's the way CEN-CENELEC is organized. We have the Sector from Energy Management. We make recommendation to both CEN and CENELEC technical boards, and also receive requests from them in order to prepare a work plan for the upcoming years, sometimes with a very long-term vision. We advise, but also bring some, or ensure a few coordination between existing technical committees. Here we have a few of them. GTC 14 on energy management, energy audits and energy savings. GTC 6 about hydrogen in energy systems. GTC 15 on energy measurement plan for organization, and more recently with the blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. The Sector Forum Energy Management, Energy Transition is also a board member of several coordination groups, like the coordination group on smart grid, on smart metering, on eco-design and energy labeling, and on smart and sustainable cities and communities, as well as more recently on energy-related product and material efficiency. The Sector Forum can also launch and create its own working groups. And we have another working group on clean energy package and Green Deal now, another one on tools for financing energy efficiency, and one on energy storage. We also have a joint working group with the SABI Strategy Advisory Board on Environment group about behavior change, and a few permanent exchange platforms, one on carbon capture and storage, and the other one on hydrogen. Recently, and we decided to create this new working group on blockchain and DLT in the energy sector, and this will be part of the presentation I will give to you today. But back to the seminar we organized late in 2019 about the blockchain in the energy sector, challenges and opportunities. This was the agenda. First of all, we had some keynote presentation, first from the Commission to explain how the European Commission intend to support the use of blockchain in the energy sector. Then from the Senelec side, to map and explain the different recommendations emitted by the focus group on blockchain and DLT that has been now converted to this new Joint Technical Committee 19 Paolo explained this morning. We had some inputs from the International Partnership for Energy Efficiency Cooperation, just to brand the need to continue developing the blockchain activities in that sense, and with opportunities for the G20 collaboration about standardization, and also from the Sector Forum on Energy Management about bridging between technical, financial, and social aspects to be able to meet and to boost the meeting of energy transition targets. After this first introduction during the seminar, we had a session about pilot cases considering concrete application in the energy sector. The first one from the Swiss Federal Office of Energy, which is the Ministry of Energy, as they set a support scheme and funding scheme for pilot about blockchain in the energy sector. Some specific feedbacks from consortium composed by energy provider and distributor, EWB, and a financial institution, which is Post Finance, to show how they implement the blockchain in pilot cases, in real case, where we have the energy supply on sense and distribution, and the financial one on the other side to complete the value chain with regard also to some individuals who provide and supply in energy. We also had a very interesting study and strategic mapping from the high school from Sant'Anna in Pisa about the blockchain in the energy sector and the challenge and how blockchain could figure the future outlook in the energy field. And also for the International Research Center in Tyndall about how to optimize local generation grid service through blockchain. And finally, pilot cases and concrete application from the funding side, banking, and also in insurance model about blockchain for energy savings, all together helping bringing trust and confidence in blockchain as a future trends in this field. We had then two different panels. One was about the support framework for innovation and demo project, and the second one about moving from pilot cases and best practice to standardization development as a way to boost innovation to markets. That was really this very interesting and well-attended seminar. From the outcomes of this seminar, we have a couple of outcomes here on that slide. Especially everybody agreed that blockchain-based application could definitely be a key player in Europe, especially to meet our ambitious energy objective and targets, especially for the clean energy for all European package. DLT based on blockchain has also this potential to de-risk investment from renewables energy efficiency along the complete value chain, thanks to transparent, traceable, and integrity of the different steps. People also understood all that this technology needs really to have a key support, a proper development where standards could definitely play a role, but that we need to consider all type of application of connections, all elements of the complete value chain. Even if we all agree that today this situation and the context is not totally mature, not only with regard to technology, but also in terms of, let's say, citizen and public acceptance, because there is still a need for further awareness raising and finalizing some development with regard to bringing robust scheme to that. We all agree that there is really a need for having high level value chain approach, blockchain ready, as written here, that will also consider hardware, data format and communication protocols in addition to the technology itself. And based on that, the recommendation from the seminar was really to launch some standardization scan about what exists and to check how we can contribute through standardization development to ensure the credibility of the system, to avoid the fragmentation of the system, and to contribute to prevent what people said, the antitrust issues. We also identified that standards could definitely be of further help to reduce the high development cost for the new ICT and software development, as well by bringing also a common reference to all players and stakeholders along the value chain, but that we also need to have the standardization work that will allow the integration of the vertical sectoral expert and stakeholders into a more holistic and horizontal approach. This will help to have all in mind a common framework, global picture, where people can understand the key collaboration and bridge between each sectoral or each segment of the value chain. Having said that, and from this recommendation from the seminar, the sector from energy management, energy transition, during one of the recent plenary, decided and make a recommendation to create this new working group on blockchain and DLT in the energy sector, keeping in mind that the sector from is not a place where we can write, and we will write some standards, design standards. We are only bringing some advices, mapping a roadmap, paving the way to further standardization work that will be allocated to other existing technical committees, or when there is none of those, to create a new technical committees. But so the recommendation from the sector forum was the following: SFEM members support the creation of a new SFEM working group on blockchain and DLT in the energy sector, with the proposition of a secretariat to be held by SNV, that is the Swiss standardization national bodies, with regard to these activities. And a call for participation will be launched by the SFEM secretary before the end of last year, so 2020. And it was proposed that I would chair this new working group. So in this new working group, we launched a call for expert, and this call for expert is still valid. I think it's not closed so far. So if people would be interested to join, they can contact me, but I will come back to this point later. And so the scope of this working group will have to consider the whole value chain of blockchain and DLT in the energy sector, from energy supply to consumption, from data collection and monitoring to business model, and from grid management to decision making. The aim is really to provide the different technical board of SEN and SENELEC with concrete proposal, and try to help and support them and to bring some inputs on the way forward to address standardization expectation and needs in this field, but also to provide the existing SENS-ENELEC Joint Technical 19 with concrete proposal and feed them with some recommendation for further development. But this is not only, the aim of this working group is not only to provide standardization communities with a concrete proposal, but also to provide the European Commission and the concerned stakeholders with need for further research development and innovation support. And so that to feed the European Commission with ideas and requests for consideration in the future calls, Green Deal calls, for instance, Horizon Europe, for instance, and others, so that we can be sure that these gaps in the value chain could be covered through a research and innovation funding scheme, and also to provide EC with recommendation for improvement of the existing regulations or legislation in order to make blockchain fully supported by a legislative framework. The call for experts also explain what would be the outcomes of this working group. There will be mainly some report that will map existing project, blockchain and DLT related project and initiative in Europe, and helping to identify some best practice and use cases, but also to map existing standardization activities, either at national level, European level, or global level, as Paolo also reminded this morning, extremely important not to overlap and to reinvent the wheel, but to try to consider what already exists and recommend to complement the big pictures with regard to the identified gaps. Also, in that sense, to map standardization needs and then make recommendation for new work item proposal, new development, and recommendation or proposition to allocate these new activities in existing PCs and working groups or to create new ones. There is also in the outcomes of this working group the objective to prepare a strategic roadmap with a list of standardization priorities that could also include pre-normative research, which will also help the research development innovation framework to consider pre-normative research as outcomes from research RD&I innovation project, so that we can boost the readiness level towards standardization. Of course, there will be a strong need to liaise with the SENS-ENELEC Joint Technical Committee 19, and that's one of the aim of this working group, but also to have a strong liaison with the European Commission and the Joint Research Center team working on blockchain and related activities to ensure a common alignment between identified needs, identified initiative, and further improvement of the existing landscape. A strengthened cooperation between regulatory work, standardization work, and research development innovation program will also be at the heart of this working group. And finally, we will also map research development innovation needs to make recommendations to the European Commission. What we expect from this call for experts, we will need experts that cover the entire value chain of these blockchain and DLT and in the energy sector. And this will also cover and gather experts that will cover expertise from the energy production, the grid management, the regulatory side, the financial side, and IT sector, of course, and this, of course, in addition to the related technologies. So we intend to welcome experts from industry, SMEs, startups, research institute, policymakers, and all the different vertical sector identified so far. Having experts, in addition to that, with their experience and practical operation on real application and pilot, as well as decision-making phase, will be very useful because then we can identify where to put the priority, what will be relevant in support of decision making and investment making. And we also need to have representatives from the civil society and citizen, because if we want the blockchain and DLT in this sector to boost and to develop and to have a real market, we need really a public acceptance. And public acceptance could be accelerated and boosted through standardization, as most of the time people trust in standards that bring transparency, as presented this morning by Paolo. So transparency in the process, but also a trust through the clear and fair approach that is most of the time always developed through consensus. About the formal liaison we intend to have with the GTC 19, of course, as I said, we will map standardization needs and prepare a strategy roadmap with a list of standardization priorities that will be also circulated to GTC 19 committee, with a recommendation also for new developments when we will identify topics where standardization would be ready, or the maturity on these issues will be sufficiently high for launching some new development in standards. We will first propose to GTC 19 and check if it is relevant and in line with our scope of work. We will also participate, as it is already the case, to the different plenaries of the GTC 19, and the sector from energy management is already a formal liaison with the GTC 19. We will report about the progress of this working group, but we will also contribute to feeding the strategy and work plan of GTC 19, because it is the only European technical committee dealing directly with this blockchain and distributed ledger technologies on all different sectors, all different levels. And what we are doing with this working group is just to concentrate from best practice and existing experience on the energy sector. So this is quickly this introduction and presentation about what we are doing. Now I would like to open also the floor to a few questions to you. Here you have a few of them. First of all, if you need some clarification, I will try to answer to those. If you are also confronted to standards and you have some ideas how the standards could affect the blockchain deployment and boost the deployment, what you understand as struggles and key challenges, if you have some recommendation to send Senelec and about what to be considered, if you see any support needs on such topics, and of course, if you have some interest for further details, and if you would like to join this new sector forum working group, feel free to contact myself. I also need to tell you that the sector forum and the working group we developed are not following exactly the rules from a technical committee as explained this morning by Paolo. You understand this morning, or understood, that if you want to become an expert in one technical committee, you need to be nominated by the national standards and bodies. The sector forum is an open platform of exchange and can welcome any of the different experts interested in bringing their expertise in this working group. So such a working group could be open not only to European experts, but and not only to people that will be directly nominated from the national standards and bodies through their existing mirror committees, but that could be also become member just by the acceptance of the SWEM plenary. And in that sense, you need to send your expression of interest either to myself as chair and vice chair of the SWEM now, and or to the secretariat that is held by AFNOR, but you can directly go through my email address, and I will be very glad to bring you all the further details and consider your interest to join the working group. But this was a very quick and brief presentation to show you some practical initiative now to try to consider a real operational demo and pilot project moving to standardization to boost innovation to market. And I would like to give you the floor, and if you have a few questions, to go through these questions right now. Thank you very much, and I look forward to having some questions from your side. Okay, so is it fine? Okay, here we are back. Carmen, you want to take back the lead for a few questions from the floor then?
Yes, from the moment, I think there are no questions. Thank you very much, Bernard, for the presentation. We want this bootcamp to be more interactive, so more participative, so you are very much welcome to raise your voice and ask to Bernard anything you want. So this topic was quite interesting this morning, and were so many questions. Maybe you still want to raise some of them.
As I see some chat where people also participated to this seminar in October 2019.
Yeah.
But if someone would like to, so thank you very much for this comment. But if you have a question, feel free, or compliment. We start to have many ongoing pilot and demo projects in different countries. We have a few very interesting ones also in Italy, in Germany now, in France we start to have, in Switzerland there are about 10 now, and also that involve some private people, which is extremely interesting because we have a key challenge in bringing trust in the way to bridge between energy and all the finance that will be behind that, and how to retrocede also the value of the energy supplied in that sense to the real suppliers. So that's something extremely important. But if you have a question, do not hesitate to take the floor. No questions so far. Maybe as I have a few additional time, Carmen, I could also tell you that so far we receive about 20 expressions of interest for experts to join this working group. There will be, the idea of this working group is to work for 1 year, and during this year to draft a report with all the result of these mappings as I presented to you before, and make recommendation again for further standardization development, for improvement of the legislative framework in Europe, but also for consideration of further support, funding for research, development and innovation, for further support to demo project and pilot project. And this will be very useful because when we have not enough maturity, there is always a need to be sure we have the capacity to support existing project and new project to build a sufficient high amount of best practice or use cases to then start to develop or base our standardization development that would become a reference, a common reference for starting to elaborate either some new regulation that will be based on practical operational project and context, and as well real standards that could pave the way to boosting the market. So no questions so far.
This is also an opportunity for you, like the participants, to share your experience regarding this topic. If you had some experiences on your projects, or your ideas, your companies on this area, to share with the rest of us how it's been, etc.
I see Emmanuel who just unmuted. So Emmanuel, maybe one point.
Very quick. Hello, everybody. We have one of the companies that I'm following among the blog pool companies. There is one on energy with.
Oh, you are muted.
Yes, you're mute.
Sorry, I was looking at the names on the person from Wismart are not there. I don't think they are, so they cannot intervene. But I'm sure we have other companies linked to energy.
Hello, everybody. This is Mariola from Green Innovation. We work in the renewable energy sector as well. And right now we are facing a lot of problems about the regulation between different countries.
Yep.
So I think that's the point. That's, I think, the most tricky point for us.
That's a very good point, Mariola. Very good point. And this is the reason why I added in the scope of our working group to check the barriers. And one of the major barriers are really the lack of harmonization between the regulation, the national regulation. We have no regulation at EU level that could be transposed in all countries. And we would like to make recommendation, but we would like to avoid having a regulation, European legislation or regulation that will not be based on real expectation, that will be just a generic one. And finally, it will bring more barriers than what we have today. So that's the reason why we would like to collect this best practice or use cases, identify where the barriers are in the different countries where we have this expertise, and to be sure we will propose something that will help to cut the barriers and not to bring additional ones. But you are fully right. From the seminar we had in October 2019, this has been identified also by the European Commission as one of the critical issues we have to work on. Yeah, definitely. Very good point. And I think it would be very good to continue to exchange with you on that field, because we need this expertise as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mariola. Yeah. Any other comments or experience in that field? The idea is also, because we have seen this morning, we have some global SDO development and at ISO level, some technical committees in that sense. Of course, as soon as we have some recommendation for further development of standards, if we see that it is relevant to pass these standards immediately at global level, remember what Paolo said this morning, there are some agreement between CEN and ISO and CENELEC and IEC called the Vienna Agreement for CEN, CENELEC and CEN and ISO, and Western Frankfurt Agreement now for IEC and CENELEC. And we can always, when we start the development, align and feed, also ensure the development in parallel at global level or European level. But today, we are in Europe in context where there is strong support to identify the opportunities for blockchain and DLT in the energy sector. I'm speaking for this sector today. And I think we have a strong support to try to improve all different parts, research, development, innovation, legislation framework, and standards to make things possible and to boost this innovation sector to markets, especially because we know that decentralization will be a key part of the transition to low carbon of the energy. And decentralization means that we need to develop new schemes compared to the strongly centralized grid we have so far in management. And blockchain is really something that could help. But for that, we need to ensure, as I said before, a traceable, reliable, trustful context, so that each actor and stakeholders of the value chain could really trust and have confidence in either feeding the system with energy and or getting some funding from the grid. Also, data protection is a key topic, and we have in Europe some specific regulation. So that's why we believe in Europe we can really start paving the way, not only for Europe, but paving the way now through European context, and then enlarging to worldwide and global development. Any further questions, points? Not really. I hope I was not boring you with my presentation and proposition for the development. I think we have a very challenging topic. It will be very tough to be able to deliver this report within 12 to 15 months maximum. But this is really something that is needed if we want to also contribute to feeding the next goals for Horizon Europe, for instance, or Green Deal's goals in due time, let's say, but also to be sure when we will start to revise or renew the existing directive and prepare a new set of regulation, we will not have to wait 10 years from now, but we need to have something very relevant. And that's why we need expertise and experts from all the different segments of the value chain. So we are sure we are proposing the right, making the right recommendation. Of course, this report will be then a public report. It will certainly be published on the Sun and Select side. I already made a few of these similar reports in the past that have been published on the European Commission site. This was the case for the hydrogen, for instance. It took a few years, but now the legislation is moving in that sense. Research, development, and innovation calls were all including our inputs, and we have many standardization development. So hopefully we'll do the same for the blockchain and the DLT. I have a point in the chat from Christaps Gideon. I tried to do STO for one energy project 2 years ago, was not good experience. Could you please elaborate a bit more and directly express your experience, share your experience with us, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So there are multiple issues. So first of all, regarding the energy project itself, we were doing a wind farm, so to harvest wind energy. So there are issues with building the turbines themselves, so different environmental issues. But so we tried to raise funds through the security token offering. So I assume you are familiar with this concept. And like 2 years ago, it was so first of all, it was hard to find any partners, so banks and things like that. So we partnered up with the banks in Liechtenstein, and yeah, it felt more like a criminal activity rather than doing something new in this case, because as you remember, 2017, 2018 was ICO time when everything crashed, and I think people still had like a bad taste in their mouths after the ICO craze. And I remember the STOs were promising at that time, and a lot of people thought that they are like the future of fundraising and so on. But yeah, it didn't go as planned, simply because first there's infrastructure was not there. So if you look on exchanges, on banks that are willing to work with these kinds of things, custodial services, then yeah, it was from that side, it was not a good experience in order to do STO at that time.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting input. Your experience you are sharing with us. In fact, you are right. What is very difficult in this project, and that's why I also explain on my presentation that we need to bridge between technical, financial, but also public acceptance, a social approach behind that. And it's always very difficult for decision-making people and investors to speak the same language and to have a common, let's say, framework or a basic reference to consider the risk of investing there or the risk to take decision. And now we have a very, let's say, active and proactive group managed by the European Commission called the EFI Group. It's an Energy Efficiency Financial Institution Group, where we start, and we are now a member, Standardization is a member of this group. We are starting to show these people that when we develop some standardization framework or reference document, it helps in speaking the same language, sharing the same perception behind the words and terms and definitions. But also it helps in bringing trust, confidence, and contribute to a perception of de-risking the investment, because people can follow some existing schemes. And this is the idea we have behind this working group on blockchain and DLT also. During the seminar I've organized and managed in October 2019, we had a representative from the European Bank of Investment, EBI. And these people said also, there are potential money behind that, but we need to have some clear rules how to allocate this funding. And if we can have some guidance or managing tools or reference document as a standardization work recognized by all different European countries, for instance, then it could also help the European, all the financial institutions to refer and to base their decision on some existing guidance that are shared by all. And this is really what we have in mind. But you were right, in 2017, 2018, the situation was a bit complex between the situation, worldwide situation, not only European, of course. That could be something to revisit. But it's true that we need to have all these different segments or categories of stakeholders around the same table, and to agree of what is considered on one side as risk, what is not, what is understood by all as a common, in a common manner, what type of awareness raising we need to do, educate people, so that finally they understand the challenge, they understand the opportunities. And typically your project, for instance, was very certainly a very interesting project, contributing to decarbonization, of course, to meeting our transition and boosting our transition. But a few of the concerned stakeholders who are key for making this project becoming a reality were not sufficiently aware of the issues of working in an environment that is not a common environment for them, so feeling that it is risky. And so they are just stepping back. And that's something we need to consider. And again, the recommendation we would like to make with this working group, the type of expert we would like to have, is set in such a way to have everyone finally sharing the same level of awareness in that field.
Yeah, I agree, because well, the biggest problem were that there were no clear guidelines how to approach this. So because that's why I used word like criminal activities, because companies registered in Estonia, bank and custodials happening in Liechtenstein, there are a lot of like hacking, all these kinds of things. Because what we did is well, that's the security token offering was for bonds. So we just that's as a loan where we repay the money back in the certain terms, which is of course, and if you look on some technical implementations, it looks very beautiful because you can automate the payments with smart contracts and do different kinds of things. But again, if you look from the regulatory perspective, then it's a bit challenging in this case.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you very much for this testimony also and experience. Yeah. There another experience you would like to share with us? Somebody else? Any further questions?
Doesn't seem so.
No. I think I would like to take also this opportunity to thank you very much for the organization of this series of presentation and exchange, because it is really an issue, a topic that needs a lot of education, or sharing our perception, sharing experience and feedbacks from our individual perspective, but also individual understanding. And it is through this type of event that finally we can gather a sufficient critical mass of expert of people to make things becoming a reality. So congrats, and thank you again also Carmen and colleagues for moving in that direction. I'm also very happy to be a partner of Enable in that sense, with Emmanuel here and Pierre, you know, of course.
Thank you very much for your words, Bernard. Maybe if there are no more questions, we can just have a 10 minutes break until the next session starts. That is going to be a panel with different people. So you can just grab something to drink, just reply some emails in these 10 minutes, and see you at the 4. That's all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Bernard, for your presentation and your time.